Alright guys, it's that time of year again. It's actually a couple of months late. I usually do these videos in July, and obviously we're a couple of months late here, but we are doing the annual top local multiplayer games on the Nintendo Switch. I have done this for 3 years running now. It seems that you guys like these videos a lot. I get a lot of good comments, and people have already messaged me asking me where the 2021 video was, so I knew I had to put another one of these out. And you guys know I'm a really big fan of having 4 people over, doing some local multiplayer gaming on the Nintendo Switch. And there's so many good games on the Switch that do exactly that we're able to do yearly lists with top 20. And those top 20, of course, don't cover all the games that release with local multiplayer. They're just my favorite games that I think you guys should know about for local multiplayer. So if there's any games that you see on this list that came out between, remember this list is between the month of the end of July all the way up till now, because I did this video in July of 2020, so there are a couple of games on this list that may have released at the end of 2020, but most of these games did release in 2021. So if there's any games that I missed that you guys know about on this list that released in 2021, leave those comments down below so I can check those games out, and maybe I just missed them. So other than that, guys, let's go ahead and get into the top local multiplayer games on the Nintendo Switch for 2021.
Gaming tech, eating brekkie is the gaming tech. Going for a brekkie is the gaming tech. Gaming tech is the gaming tech. Gaming techie.
The first one on this list coming in at number 20 is WWE 2K Battlegrounds. So this game came out at the tail end of 2020, and I'm having a lot of fun with this one. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but this is kind of like a wrestling game that I'm really into. Like the arcadey version, like WWE All-Stars that we all wanted from back in the day. This is definitely pushing towards that direction. It's 4 players in the ring doing crazy moves, over the top, like spinning in the air, having these crazy weapons in the arena and all that stuff, and you're just battling it out to be the last one standing in the ring. And it's just, if you're a wrestling fan but you like the more arcadey style and you've been waiting for something like this, I think this one is really, really fun. I'm having a blast with this one. I think this is the wrestling game that, I've been waiting for, in a sense. Since the SmackDown days, I've been a big wrestling fan and stuff. I do sometimes still like the regular games, but this WWE Battlegrounds was exactly what I was looking for. The next one on this list coming in at number 24 is Wrestledunk Sports. So this is one of those compilations where you have 4 players and you're playing all of these different mini games, and this is all sports related. So there's like a wrestling one. As you can see here, there's a fencing one, and you're just battling, with soccer ones, and you're battling each other, and you're using these quirky figures that you can use as you're looking at here on the screen, and it's just a ton of fun to be able to play a game like this with your friends. It's hectic fun. There's not much else to say about this one, guys. This is, if you like sports games and you like playing sports games with your friends, this one that came out this year is a ton of fun, and the graphic style is fantastic as well. As you guys are seeing here, I love the way that, the goals splatter when you actually hit the ball into the goal. I love the fencing and how you die, like the animations, all that stuff just looks really, really good and makes this one stand out just because of the graphic art style and how quirky it is. So check this one out, guys. This is Wrestledunk Sports coming in at number 19. The next one on this list is another one that I've been looking forward to, another one that is kind of a sequel-ish to one of the games back in the day that we all used to love, and this one is Retromania Wrestling. So Retromania Wrestling is kind of like a sequel to WrestleFest, if you guys remember that from the arcades. And, there's a couple of team members that worked on this game that kind of wanted to bring that feel back to wrestling. And this is kind of that. So this is another one of these arcade wrestling games, but in the 2D space, in the arcade space of going after the people who love the WrestleFest and wanted a newer version of that. And they did a really good job with this one. It definitely feels like the arcade version with a more updated art style with the sprites in this game. With being able to play with 4 players and stuff, it's a ton of fun. They have a variety of characters, and they each have their own moveset. They all do their own different things. There's some backstage areas. There's some weapons you can use in the game. There's obviously some wrestlers in here you're going to recognize. Even some of the arenas have some YouTubers that actually got into the game, which is really cool to see, as you're seeing there. Super Game Room dudes got into there, if you guys know who they are, and the arcade platform got in there, as you guys saw there. And they did a really solid job with this one. They're still updating the game. They're still adding to the game. And I'm having a ton of fun with this one. There's a crazy ton of match types that you guys can get into. So there's a lot here for everybody if you're into this type of game, and if you're into the arcade wrestling game. I think this is one that you guys, if you have missed it, you definitely don't want to miss. The next one on this list is a sequel to a game that came out on the Nintendo Switch the year prior, and that is Nickelodeon Kart Racers 2. So if you guys are familiar with games like Mario Kart and stuff like that, this is for us 90s kids like I am, like us Nickelodeon fans. It has all the characters from Nickelodeon. The tracks are much better designed. This sequel definitely elevated almost everything that we wanted from the sequel that wasn't here. There's more characters, there's way more tracks. They made it a really good game. There's only one problem, and the reason why this game is not higher on this list is because there's no VO, there's no voiceover on the character, so it's missing that spark. Like when you play Mario Kart and stuff like that, you're interested in playing the courses and hearing the theme song of the actual course, or you're interested in the characters making their quirky noises from the show or their one-liners from the show. But unfortunately, that's not here. But what is here is still really, really good for us Nickelodeon fans. All the characters are here, the tracks are well designed, the slime is here. So that's Nickelodeon Kart Racers 2. The next one we have here is a game that recently came out on the Switch, and that is Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania. So I remember playing Super Monkey Ball on like the GameCube and stuff nonstop, and and the Wii and stuff. And this is basically a compilation of 300 levels of all the past Super Monkey Ball games. So if you guys were fans of that game, this is a compilation of the 300 best levels in the game. And on top of that, you have the 12 party games, and that's why it makes this list. Everyone knows that Monkey Ball was a game that was really fun with friends because it had those games that we all remember playing with Monkey Ball, like Monkey Target and Monkey Bowling and all that stuff. And they're here. There's 12 different mini games on here. They did a really good job recreating them. You can play with 4 of your friends. And if you guys were Super Monkey Ball fans and you liked the multiplayer back in the day, I think that's actually what sells this game. I mean, the 300 levels are awesome. But I think what sells this game and puts it over the top is definitely the 12 party games that come on here. Just like I thought the sequel, when the first games came out, I thought that was the best part of the game as well. As I thought the actual multiplayer was actually my favorite part of Monkey Ball, because eventually those levels get crazy, crazy hard, and I want to throw my Switch across the room. But the actual 4-player mini games on here are always a ton of fun, and I'm glad to have this compilation now on the Switch in the HD era now that they recreated and remastered this game. So that's Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania. The next one on this list is a game that I only heard about recently. That's Embr. And this is a cooperative game where basically you have 4 of you, and you're basically trying to save people from fires in their home. So it's really cool. It kind of feels like, Overcooked, if you like that kind of gameplay and stuff like that, and you like playing cooperative games like Overcooked, where you were cooking and stuff. Well, this one's, like I said, extinguishing fires and saving people from fires, and it's really cool to go into. It's obviously different than games like Overcooked, because this one's actually in first person, and you're going in there and you're turning off the fires, you're saving the people in there, you're trying to collect things and put them in the van. It's a lot of fun. It's one, like I said, I only heard about this one recently. It kind of missed my radar until recently, and this one's a ton of fun. This is definitely one in the rotation now, as other games are, like Overcooked and stuff, where it's really fun to play, causes a lot of competition, a lot of craziness when you're playing with your friends and playing cooperatively, screaming at each other and stuff. So this one's a ton of fun, guys. Check this one out. That's Embr on the Nintendo Switch. This next one here technically hasn't even released yet. It was supposed to release last week, but it got delayed, and now it's releasing this week on the Nintendo Switch. The long-awaited game called Gang Beasts. And Gang Beasts is a game that I've played and had a ton of fun with on the PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 and Xbox, because it's released on a lot of different platforms already. But we were waiting for it to release on the Nintendo Switch because this is like one of the greatest party games you can play with your friends. The physics are insane. The maps are all quirky. The way that you like throw each other off levels is all just, you're playing with physics, and it's just a crazy fun time. It's like very hilarious, and very weird things happen when you try to throw each other off the stage and stuff. And I thought I had to put it on this list because even though it's not out yet, we all know what Gang Beasts is like because it's out for every other platform, and now it's going to be on the Nintendo Switch. So I think a lot of us are going to be happy when this one releases tomorrow. So that's Gang Beasts on the Nintendo Switch. This next one that I found out about on the Switch is called Unspottable, and this is a really interesting one. Basically, you are trying to, if you remember games like Assassin's Creed back in the day, where they had that multiplayer mode where you would take your character and you had to hide in a crowd and not get killed. Well, this is kind of that same premise. You're basically, all four of you are playing local multiplayer. You're trying to hide your characters in the actual scenery amongst the AI. and you have to eventually try and punch each other without getting caught. So you're hiding in this scenario with the other AI, waiting for your perfect opportunity to punch the other person and be the last one standing. It's really, really fun. It adds that element of surprise. You know, you're walking around trying to pretend like you're these AI players, and out of nowhere, you punch your friend in the face. So this one's a ton of fun, guys. Don't miss this one on the Switch. That's Unstoppable. The next one is another one that I found out recently as well. It's been out for a little bit, and that is Stickfight The Game. So this is basically, if you guys are... We all know about stick figures and stuff. It's something that we all drew in school. I still draw them nowadays because I can't draw, so that's a different story. But this one adds those stick figures and stuff and just throws a crazy amount of levels, a crazy amount of weapons, and you're basically all stick figures trying to be the last person standing. There's a bunch of different levels, like I said, a bunch of different modes, a bunch of different weapons, and you're just trying to kill each other and trying to be the last one standing. Sometimes you're on teams, sometimes you're playing solo. The levels are all crazy. There's a lot of physics, a lot of, you know, you can actually take the levels apart. Like I said, it's a ton of fun and definitely not one to be missed. One of the best party games to come out on the Switch, or local multiplayer games to come out on the Switch in a while, hence why it's higher on this list. And it's just a ton of fun to play with your friends and not one to be missed, guys. This next one on the list is the game that got ported over from the Wii U onto the Nintendo Switch, and it did get some additional content as well, and that's Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. Now, this one is one of my favorite Mario platformers of all time. I love Mario 3D World. The levels were designed amazingly well. I played it with 4 of my friends, mostly all the way through. My wife played through it, and the levels are all so well designed, so much fun to play with 4 players. Like I said, one of my favorite Mario games of all time, and this one obviously got brought over to the Switch. You know, graphics got better, and of course they added Bowser's Fury, which is you know, basically an expansion to the campaign, which added a bunch of levels where you go ahead and take on Bowser, and it's a lot of fun, and it adds even more content to the game, of course. And those levels are still a ton of fun to play as well with your friends. And like I said, I think this is probably my favorite 4-player Mario game to play with friends, because the levels are so interesting, they're so different from each other. You never know what they're going to throw at you next. And that's what makes this game stand out for me. This is going to be, you know, one of those games that I'll always play. And that is Super Mario Bros. 3D World on the Nintendo Switch. This next one, I think, probably catches everybody by surprise at this point. Because when I first heard about this game, I didn't think it would make any list. And I didn't even think I would like the game. And that's Hot Wheels Unleashed. We all thought this game was going to come out. It was going to be a cash grab from Hot Wheels. And it was going to be a great game and blah, blah, blah. And what we got here is ridiculously amazing. If you guys are fans of racing games and Hot Wheels games and arcade racing, this is one of the best of the year. It's so much fun, and of course, with Hot Wheels having the license and stuff, they get to put things like the Turtles wheel and like Back to the Future cars, and you can race with these cars. And due to the fact that they have all these licensing for the cars, you get to drive these, and they're so much fun. And the tracks are so interestingly designed. You can customize and make your own tracks and share them, and do a lot of customization with the cars and the tracks, and the gameplay is tight and so much fun. It's an arcade racer, of course. This one came out of nowhere for me, and this was one of my favorite races of the year. Hot Wheels Unleashed on the Nintendo Switch. Great game. The next one on this list is a game that came out at the tail end of after I made my last year's video, and would have definitely made my last year's video, but it just missed the cut of when I finished the video, and that's Boomerang Fu. One of the best multiplayer games on the Nintendo Switch for 4 players when it comes to being like the last man standing type of games. You know, you're these quirky characters that you're seeing here. You have a boomerang, you're trying to kill each other, and you're using these, you know, these crazy power-ups that are in the game to obviously kill each other, to, you know, make that boomerang even crazier. A lot of different things happen in this game. The levels are all really well designed. The graphics are obviously outstanding in this game. And it's just a fun 4-player, you know, last man standing. Technically it goes up to 6, but we're talking about 4-player multiplayer here. But either way, a fun and fantastic game on the Nintendo Switch that definitely deserves more attention than it probably got, because it's one of the best local multiplayer games on the Switch overall. So check this one out, guys. Boomerang Fu on the Nintendo Switch. The next one on this list is a sequel to another local multiplayer game that I used to play all the time on the Xbox, and this one got brought over to, or the sequel got brought over to the Nintendo Switch, and that's KinghtSquad 2. This one is one that I've always had a ton of fun with. It plays up to 8 players on the Switch, and has a ton of different modes. The sequel here brought even more modes. The original already had a bunch of modes to begin with, but now, you know, there's capture the flag, there's deathmatch, team deathmatch, you know, control point, all of these different game modes. And you can play with local multiplayer, like with 4 people, and then the rest of the people can be AI, so you still have a full 8-player match. You know, the levels are all, you can modify a bunch of things. There's a bunch of items to collect, a bunch of different weapons in the game. You know, this is the total package when it comes to a local multiplayer game of, like, you know, trying to kill your friends and try to have, you know, all these different modes and all these different levels and everything that you can play here. As you can see, a ton of fun, guys. KinghtSquad 2, check it out on the Nintendo Switch. This next one on this list is one of the newer games on the list that just came out literally a couple weeks ago, and I'm having a blast with this one. Another one that I thought was not going to be great because that's just what we expect sometimes, but was pleasantly surprised on how much fun I'm having with this game, and that's Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. If you guys are fans of games like Super Smash Bros., but you want Nickelodeon characters like me, because you're a 90s kid and, you know, a fan of Nickelodeon and stuff from back in the day, this is the game for you. It has characters like SpongeBob, Helga from Hey Arnold, you know, Squidward, you know, all of these characters from Ren and Stimpy, the Ninja Turtles, all of this, and they're planning on supporting this game in the future, which makes it really, really exciting to see what other characters are going to come next. We know that there's DLC coming already. The only thing that holds this one back, again, is the voiceover. There's no voiceovers in the characters, so you're not going to hear one-liners, and there's no themed music in the background of the levels, which is unfortunate because the gameplay is tight and fun. They did say that they may add it depending on how well the game sells in future DLC. So I really hope that they do, because or else this would be even higher on the list than what it is already. Check this one out, guys.
The fairway is open once again.
The next one on this list here is a game that we're probably all familiar with. It's the Mario Golf franchise, Mario Golf Super Rush. So even though this game didn't get like crazy great reviews, it's still a fantastic game when your friends are over, and that's my favorite way to play this game. You know, playing the new Super Rush mode where you're basically shooting your golf balls as fast as possible and trying to make it into the hole before everyone else, and you're using like little power-ups as you're running down the course, and you actually have to run to the other hole. Add some different variety to golf for us who just like arcade golf, like me, and it's a ton of fun to play with 4 players. You know, there's obviously a bunch of characters that you can be. You know, they have a good variety of courses in the game, a good variety of modes and stuff, and they're still updating the game. You know, they did release a patch here with a couple of new courses already and a new character, so this is a great game to play with your friends, and it's a ton of fun with the new Super Rush mode and stuff. Even if you just play with your friends locally, there's a lot to be had here, a lot of fun to be had, especially if you're into the franchise already and you like the Mario Golf series. This is more of that with more modes and more characters, and obviously being in HD. So I'm having a ton of fun with this one, guys. Go ahead and check this one out, Mario Golf Super Rush on the Switch. Switch was one I was hoping that would finally release on the Switch because I love this series, and that is Warioware Get It Together. I love these micro type games from Warioware that's like, you know, over 100 mini games, and they're really quick and crazy mini games that you're playing against your friends, and this one is exactly that, but it adds even more. This one, the quirk on this one is that each mini game can be played differently depending on which character you actually are. So you can play with different characters in the game, and you can beat the mini games differently because of the way those characters actually interact with that mini game. And after you beat the 3 to 4 hour story, that's when you unlock the 4-player multiplayer mode, and you can play all these mini games with your friends and just have a ton of fun with the multiplayer modes in here. If you're fans of the Warioware franchise, I think they did a really solid job with this one, with creating the mini games and creating the hectic fun that we're all used to seeing from the Warioware franchise, and adding the quirkiness of being different characters and stuff that actually make the mini games that you play over and over again actually be different depending on which character you are. Adds even more, you know, replayability to the game, because you can play all the mini games with a different character and beat them in completely different ways. So this one's fantastic. They have a lot of content in here, as you can see, over 200 micro games in here, 4-player modes that you can play in the game, the 3 to 4 hour story that you can play as well. But obviously what you're here for is those micro games and is that multiplayer mode, and it's fantastic fun, guys. Check this one out, Warioware on the Nintendo Switch. So even though this game has already technically been on one of these lists already, I had to put it on this list again, and that is Overcooked All You Can Eat, because this one is a compilation that came out this year, and basically it includes all the levels from the first one and the second one makes every single level online. Even though this isn't an online, we're talking about local multiplayer. It does add online multiplayer, but more importantly, it adds 14 different content pieces into the game. So there's more levels that you can only find in this exclusive version. So for all you guys who love Overcooked as a franchise, you can get more kitchens that you can cook in, more frantic fun with your friends, and this compilation is perfect because it has all the DLC, everything all together, all the kitchens, and even added some new stuff for us to play with, and online multiplayer as well. So this is one of the greatest co-op games probably of all time. There's no greater hectic game than a game like this on the Nintendo Switch, with having 4 of your friends trying to cook and yell at each other and tell them what they're doing, and it's just crazy fun, guys. Overcooked on the Nintendo Switch. Go ahead and check this one out if you have not played it yet. Definitely check it out now. This next one on the list is such a fantastic game, guys. This is a game that obviously has been in Dave & Buster's and stuff. It's made by Raw Thrills, somebody, a developer out there who makes these arcade games, puts them into arcades like Dave & Buster's and stuff. And this is their first time they ever ported a game onto a home console before. And Cruis'n Blast is such a fantastic game. I don't even know what to say. This is one of my favorite arcade racers of all time already. It's definitely sits in the top 5. It's the arcade game brought home with even more. There's like over 25 courses in the game. Frantic fun. It's like a mixture of, has elements of Burnout in the game where you're actually taking cars off the road and crashing into them, the sense of speed, the neon graphics and just the colorful graphics that are in the game, the cars and the whimsical stuff that you can do, like running around in a dinosaur. It's just arcade pure fun. And it's just so good. They did such an outstanding job with this that I really hope that they consider, with the success of this game that I hope that they're having, that Raw Thrills considers bringing more of their arcade games to the home consoles as well, because it's just fantastic. And playing this with four of your friends in split screen is just so much fun, and one of my go-to racing games. When 4 players are over and we want to play an arcade racing game, this is going to be the game I pull out on the Switch every single time. Cruis'n Blast, guys. Don't miss this one if you guys are fans of arcade games. This one's fantastic, and it's really good.
Jackbox Party Pack.
The next one on this list here probably doesn't need any introduction anymore, considering how long the series has been going, and this is Jackbox Party Pack 7. This is a game that came out, of course, also at the tail end of last year as well, and it did include Quiplash 3, which is a game that a lot of people, have a lot of fun with. It's one of their more popular games on there as well, but the one that stands out for me is the Devil's Game that you guys are seeing here. Everyone has their phones, everyone's doing these quirky jobs, you're all part of a family, and you're trying to, be the best family you can be, and they have all these quirky mini games that you're playing on your phones that you need help from other people. You're screaming at each other, but there's a person in there who's sometimes trying to do the devious stuff, and that gets them more points. But if you catch them doing it, you can stop them from doing it. You're basically running around doing all these different chores with your family and stuff. It's one of my favorite Jackbox games, actually, right next to like Trivia Murder Party with those mini games as well. And they did a really good job with this one. As always, check this one out if you guys are fans of the franchise. Jackbox Party Pack 7. And the top one on this list, you guys are probably wondering what the hell is this, because this game doesn't come out till the end of the month, but I put it on this list anyway, and here is why it's number 1, because no matter what anyone says, Mario Party is one of the best games that you could play with 4 players on a Switch. And the fact that they're finally giving us what we wanted, I mean, they can't really mess this game up. That's why I was okay with putting this on the list at number 1, because we already know what we're getting. We're getting the top 100 minigames. We know what the minigames are, because they're the top 100 minigames across all the games that we used to play, from the N64 and the GameCube and stuff. And they're bringing 5 of the actual maps from those games as well. And more importantly, they're finally letting us play this Mario Party online with your friends. Full board play online is finally supported, so there's that. But as far as 4-player multiplayer, locally on your Switch, there's no better game than a game like Mario Party. And, for me, that's still the go-to game that we all play here. We're still having fun even with last year's version, even though it wasn't perfect. We have a blast with that one of the best multiplayer games you can play on the Switch, and that's why it's sitting so high on here, guys. Check this one out when it comes out on October 29th.
Alright guys, I hope you guys enjoyed that list for the Nintendo Switch top local multiplayer games in 2021. I look forward to doing this list again in 2022, since you guys seem to like it a lot, and I love making these lists because they're my favorite type of games, of course, because I love having people over, as you guys can tell with the game room that I have, and I love playing games like this. So If there's anything that I missed in this video that came out in 2021 or to the tail end of 2020, leave those comments down below. If not, thank you guys for watching. Till next time.
Gaming tech, eating brekkie is the